Nick Fenton here, founder of TickerTank. It's been a little while since I've made a video, but by popular demand, I am making a video coaching series on Iron Condors. I can't tell you how many times I've received this request via email, phone call, text, and YouTube comments. So I'm going to go ahead and do it, get it knocked out. Just haven't had a chance to get to it in the past couple months, been very busy. But let's go ahead and kick it off. And I'm going to kick it off a little different in this series. I'm going to start with the scan. So this is a scan I like to use when I'm looking for Iron Condor opportunities. And then we'll kind of get into the criteria after the scan. So in this particular scan, the first thing I've done is I've changed my category. So if you click up here where it says scan in, go to category. I've changed this to all optionable. Left intersect with as none. I've added it, well, I kept the stock filter last, and I just put minimum 10, maximum 5,000. So that's going to give you a nice range, but I don't really like to do Iron Condors at anything less than 10 bucks, so it's kind of pointless to have anything less than 10 bucks show up. On volume, got my minimum 500,000, just left maximum blank, just let it go max, because, you know, minimum volume is going to help, minimum volume of 500,000 is going to help increase your probability of finding a underlying that has liquid options associated with it. The more volume, the higher the probability that that underlying has liquid options associated with it. So, you know, no point in putting a max on the volume. Vol index. This is another stock filter. So I added this stock filter, put vol index in there. Minimum 30%, again, leaving max blank because I don't care how high the vol index goes. So what is vol index? Vol index is essentially the same thing as implied volatility. Just a slightly different formula. So if, for example, we go over here to the trade tab and we're looking at, well, Halliburton's up on the screen here. If you look at the Jan 15s and you go all the way to the right, it's going to show you your implied volatility is 36.04%. So if you look, for example, at something like SPY, and we look at the implied volatility for Jan SPY, we go all the way to the right again, you can see that that's only 15.11. So in essence, the options in HAL are about twice, a little over twice as rich as SPY. So 15 versus 36. So when I'm doing these premium selling strategies, I prefer, I mean, I'm not going to say I won't never do SPY, but with something like an Iron Condor, I really do prefer to put a minimum on my vol index of 30, so that I'm picking up underlyings that have options associated with them, and those options have a vol index of at least 30. So there's at least some premium in there, so I can get a little bit further away from the money in that particular underlying on the short strikes. And we'll get into that a little bit more as this video series goes on. I'm not sure how many videos it's going to take. Maybe 7, hopefully 8, something like that. All right, so then I add a study filter. So all you have to do is click Add Study Filter right here. It's a little yellow box. And I change the study. I go all the way down here to volatility, and I choose IV percentile. All right. I do my minimum. So it says implied volatility percentile is between 50 and 101. That word between is very important, as I've learned since making my first video on this particular scan. So I used to put between 50 and, or I'd say 51 through 100, because I wanted it to pick up 51 through 100. Well, it was actually picking up 52 through 99. It was leaving out 51 and 100 because it was picking up stuff between 51 and 100. So it's very important that if you want 51 to 100, that you put 50 to 101, because 51 and 100 is between 50 and 101. It's a little tricky, but a little something I was told by Thinkorswim. Last, I have a custom that I'll figure out something to do here. Maybe I'll leave the custom script in the description of this video or something along those lines. But this was shared with me by a Thinkorswim member, actually. And what this script says is just a modification to an existing search or scan criteria that is built in here, but he just modified it a little bit. One of my pieces of criteria is that I don't like to put Iron Condors on in any underlying that has earnings within 30 days. So essentially what this script is saying is this particular underlying that's going to be picked up in this scan, has no earnings announcement in the next 30 days. So input days equals 30. Pretty cool. So that just helps kind of thin out some things. Is this search going to come up with every single stock that pulls up in this search as perfect candidate for an Iron Condor? No. In the future, will Thinkorswim refine the scan criteria to where we will be able to pretty much have every single underlying that shows up be a perfect candidate, or at least a very strong probable candidate for an Iron Condor? Yes. The one missing thing is we can't really define that we're looking only for liquid options just yet. You can go to your add option filter and you can go to volume and options, and you can put like a minimum of 500 or 250 or whatever you want. But it's a little quirky. I've seen mixed mixed results. If I do that, I take the stock volume out and I just only do the option volume. So I can't really lean on that yet. As far as add option filter, that's really the only one that I have found that has potential to really pull out liquidity. If I could get a bid-ask spread of the, say, closest to the money front month option of 10 cents or less, say put a criteria like that in, or 15 cents or less, then that would probably solve the trick. The other thing that they have, which I've had moderate success with, is if you go and you choose scan in public, and you go here to public F through R, and you choose penny increment options, that is technically supposed to pull up options that only have penny increment bids, bid-ask spreads of a penny or less. Well, I haven't necessarily had full success with that either. It's still picking up stuff with super wide bid-ask spreads, so I don't know what strike they're looking at, what month they're looking at, but it's not accurate yet. And I know it's getting refined, and Thinkorswim's an amazing company, so I'm sure it's going to eventually be perfect. But for now, that's not working so well for me. And on top of that, I don't necessarily only want penny increment options. I mean, sure, the tighter the better, but if I say penny increment options only, then I may be leaving some great opportunities out that have, say, 5-cent wide bid-ask spreads or 10-cent wide bid-ask spreads, which I would still deem as liquid enough to trade. So don't necessarily only want penny increment options. The optimal thing for me would be add option filter and be able to add a filter where I can say bid-ask spread on the closest to the money front month option, bid-ask spread of, say, 15 cents or less. So you could put in X amount of cents or less would be the optimal thing. But that doesn't exist, and I know it's a very tricky thing to do because those bid-ask spreads move around a lot, and it's tough to pull in that data. So don't know when that'll be coming around. I'm hoping someday it does. For now, I'm leaning on this particular scan setting, or this particular criteria in my scan for Iron Condors. So how do you utilize this best? Well, once you put this together, first thing you do is go over here to Save Scan Query and just name it whatever you want. Once it's saved, I go over here in this bottom left-hand area. I'm going to show my gadgets, because right now I have them hidden. And when you show your gadgets, it's going to pop this up. Once you have it saved, you can go here and click on this little gearbox in your gadgets area. Go down to personal, and you can see I have several different scans, personal scans, created and saved. This particular one is called High IV Percentile, High IV, which is the IV represents the vol index minimum of 30, and no earnings. So you click on that one, it's already loaded here. And I like to click over here in this top area where it says symbol, last, percentage change, vol index, IVP. It doesn't say that standard. You have to right click, customize, and you can just add over here. You can add stuff and you can take away the things that you don't want. So this is what I have here as my current set. Symbol at the top, the last price on that symbol, the percentage change on the day, the vol index on said underline, and the IV percentile on said underline. So I think that's a really nice, for me, it's a great order for the current set to be in. And then once I have, once you customize it to that, you can click on the header here on IV percentile. So for example, here I have it from the lowest IV percentile moving up to the highest. So it's ascending order. And here it's descending order. So you've got the highest IV percentile moving down to the lowest. If you click it one more time, it just kind of mixes it all up for the most part. So, I prefer descending order, where the highest IV percentile is at the top, because the higher the IV percentile, the better, in my opinion, because there's more premium built into that, and that's going to make for a more advantageous opportunity to sell premium, which in turn is going to make for a potentially more advantageous looking Iron Condor to enter. So that kind of covers the first part. Now we'll pick back up here in part 2. I don't want these videos to run too long because I want you to be able to watch them in increments and retain as much information as possible. So let's stop there. Here we discussed, my optimal scan settings that I like to use. You may switch them around however you want, but this is how I like to use it. The last thing I forgot to mention, I show 500, whatever. I show stocks. I sort by IV percentile, so you have to go down here to Studies, IV percentile, and then I have it show up in descending order, so highest at the top. So if I was to click Scan here, this should match this over here, and as you can see, it does. NUGT, NUGT, SCO, SCO, GDX, GDX, GDXJ, GDXJ. You get the point. So they match perfectly. So that's all we're going to do here in this video. See you in the next video. Peace.